Hey guys, I'm Brian McCauley and welcome to McCauley's Design Workshop. So today, in part 6 of the guitar build, we're going to get to this point. We've attached the top, the soundboard, and the back, and you can see the guitar has binding along all of the edges. This doesn't look like much, and you might be thinking, well, that's not too bad. You just glue the top and the back on. There's a little bit more to it than that. There's a lot of internal structure going on in here, a lot of bracing that all needs to be hand carved, which is what gives the guitar the sound that it has. This top is not perfectly flat. It has a radius to it, as does the back. It's not flat either. There's a radius. In addition to all that, we're going to cut the sound hole and do the inlay for the rosette. So, if you'd like to see how I did it, stick around. So the first step here is to cut out the soundboard in the back of the guitar to rough shape, and I just do that real quickly at my bandsaw. With the soundboard cut out, I'm going to start the layout for the rosette and the sound hole. With the layout done, I can start cutting the channels for the rosette, and I'm just using my Dremel and a circle cutting jig to do this. Next, I'll use the Dremel again to cut out the sound hole. With the holes cut out, I can start masking off for the rosette inlay. For this, I'm just using epoxy and maple and walnut sawdust. It might be cheating a little bit, but I figure I just want to build a guitar at this point and see if I can actually do it. Later, I'll make a really pretty one. With the walnut ring all finished up, I'll go ahead and do the maple ring. Now it's time to start bracing the soundboard, so I'm using some templates that I made from my plans and marking them out on the stock that I cut. Next, it's off to the bandsaw to cut them out. And then I can start gluing them to the back of the soundboard. I had to get a little creative with my clamping so that I could account for the radius that's in the bracing. To make sure I got the right angles for the bracing, I used the plans to lay out my marks, and then I used an angle finder to get the correct angle, and then I transferred the angle from the plans to the soundboard. Next, I needed to carve the bracing. And to do this, I used a finger plane and a chisel. Carving the bracing is what gives a particular model of guitar its particular sound. So I'm building a J45 and it has a particular sound, and that's because of the way that the bracing is placed and carved within the guitar. This isn't a standard thing. Different guitars have different types of bracing, different patterns and different ways of carving it. This is just how a J45 is braced and voiced. The term voicing is the act of carving the guitar in order to have the soundboard produce certain tones. So this is my soundboard after it's been voiced. And so the whole point of this voicing is to periodically check the soundboard by tapping on it on different places, and your objective is to get different sounds. So I'm pretty sure I've achieved that, and I'm going to try and demonstrate it here. Hopefully you can hear. That's going to be my reference sound right here underneath the sound hole. So I'm going to hit and come back to it, and we should hear different tones. So I don't know if you were able to hear that or not, but there's a pretty decent variety of different tones coming off of this soundboard. Another thing with sculpting the bracing is to give the soundboard some flexibility. I don't know what this is supposed to feel like. I can flex it a little bit. I guess that's good enough for me. All right, let's attach this thing to the body. This is where the kerfing comes into play that we attached to the sides in a previous video. It provides glue surface to attach the soundboard in the back to. With the glue dry, I'll use a flush trim bit in my router and flush the soundboard up with the sides of the guitar. Next, we can start working on the bracing for the back of the guitar. This is just a strip that goes down the middle of the guitar. It's a 32nd of an inch thick, and I'm taking sections out of it where the bracing is going to go. And now we can glue the bracing in. Again, this required a little clamping creativity to make sure I got the right radius. And then we can glue the back on. I need to route a rabbet along the edges of the guitar for the binding, where the binding is going to go. I didn't have a rabbeting bit that was small enough for this, so I put the largest bearing I could on the smallest rabbeting bit that I had, and then I built up a layer of tape that the bearing could ride along as well. This ended up giving me about 1/8 of an inch by 1/8 of an inch rabbet, which was perfect for the binding. The binding is attached with CA glue, so I'm putting a coat of shellac along the edges to prevent the CA glue from ruining the finish later. Next we'll cut the strips for the binding. I'm cutting these a little bit oversized. These are going to be 3/16 of an inch square. And now we can start bending the strips to fit around the guitar. There is a much easier way to do this. They sell pre-made binding for guitars. It's plastic flexible strips that you just glue right on. It would have been much easier, but I wanted to make as much of this guitar as I could. Traditionally, to attach it, you would tape it along the whole side of the guitar and apply the CA glue and hold it with a block of wood as necessary. I found that wasn't really working for me, so I ended up using a clamp. I found I could only put one clamp on at a time, which made this process very slow. It took about 50 minutes per quarter of the guitar per piece of binding to put this on. Since I had so much time waiting for the glue to dry every inch along the guitar, I decided that I would start scraping it clean as I worked my way around as well. And at this point, I have 1/4 of the guitar bound. Alright guys, so that is the guitar so far. Essentially the entire body is built. It still of course needs, the surface still needs prepped for finish. There's a lot of sanding and cleaning up to do, but it's built. This was a surprisingly large amount of work. I was not expecting it to take me as long as it did to do this, particularly the binding. The binding was crazy. There are definitely other ways to do it that are a lot easier than the way I did it, but you know, it is what it is. So I'm extremely happy with how this is turning out. The shape of it is nearly perfect. When I hold it, it feels like a Gibson J45, which is what I'm going for. Hopefully I did the bracing and everything correctly, and by the time we get a neck on it and get it strung up, it sounds like a J45 too. We'll keep our fingers crossed on that one. So if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel, give it a thumbs up, and share it with your friends. Thanks for watching.